Welcome, Student Impact. How you doing? How many of you cringed at least once during that thing, just going like, ah? My question for you tonight as we start is, what is your pain tolerance? Do you have a high pain tolerance that you can experience a lot amount of pain, or do you have a low pain tolerance where, like, if you get, a mosquito bites you and you think it's the end of the world? So I want us to rate ourselves because in Student Impact, we like to rate ourselves. So we're going to rate ourselves from 1, very low, like pain tolerance, to 10 being very, very, very high pain tolerance. Like I could probably have like my finger cut off and I probably wouldn't even notice type thing, okay? So I want you to rate yourself from 1 to 10. And what number don't we have? Because 5 sit on the fence and they're wedgies and we're a wedgie-free place. So you cannot be in the middle. You have to be 1 to 10, all right? How many of you are a 1 or 2? I'm a low pain tolerance person. I admit it. How many of you are a 3 or 4? How many of you are 6 or 7? How many of you are 8 or 9? How many of you are a 10? I have a high pain tolerance right now. Get out the baseball bat and I'm ready. You can just take a hit. All right. Here's what I want to invite you to dive into tonight. To ask the question, is pain a good thing or not? Is pain, how we deal with pain, a good thing or not? Because I think it's something, as we're in this series called Shake It Off, it's something that I think we deal with all the time. And how we deal with pain and disappointment in our lives really determines how we interact with people, who we become, how free we really are. See, growing up, this is how I dealt with pain. I don't know how you deal with pain. Everyone has a different way of dealing with pain. But when I grew up, I dealt with pain this way. I was taught very early that you never show that you're in pain. Like you just tried harder, bit your lip, and you just went for it even a little bit further. I remember in 2nd grade, by this, it had already gotten so inundated with me. In 2nd grade, I was playing kickball during recess, and I came around 3rd base, twisted my ankle, fell. I think I made it to home, but it was in the middle of recess, and it's one of those if you've ever twisted your ankle and you immediately feel all of a sudden this warming sensation all over your ankle, and you know that it's not good. Well, I was like going, I'm in trouble here, so I'm going to man up. You know what I'm going to do? I'll be nice. I'll volunteer to be catcher when we're out in the field so I don't have to move. And the next time I come up to kick, I'm going to kick it purposely. I'm going to kick the ball up in the air so I get caught, and I'm going to act like I was really frustrated. And I remember being barely able to walk. It went through the rest of the day, 2 or 3 hours the rest of the day, and I literally, just like when you look down and it's starting to change colors already type thing. And I wouldn't tell anybody because I didn't want to show people that I was weak. I didn't want to show people that I was hurt. And I remember at the end of the day, I get out of my desk and I'm walking towards the door to go to the bus, and my teacher looks at me and goes, "What did you do?" And I'm like, "Oh, it's nothing. And she goes, "No, it's not." She looks down. It's like where, as a kid, you just kind of try to suck it up, and it's like this huge thing. My ankle's just huge, swollen up, and calls my mom, and I'm all embarrassed, and my mom's yelling at me because why didn't you tell somebody sooner, and all this thing. In 3rd grade, I got this awesome skin disease called impetigo. If you don't know what that is, if you want to get sick to your stomach, Google it. It's this disease where you get like blisters all over your body, but primarily from your on your legs. I had jeans on, and I was getting this. And again, I'm in 3rd grade, so it started to hurt, like when blisters break. If you've ever had a sunburn or something and blisters break, well, and you keep walking, well, all my legs had these huge things, and I kept walking, and it did that for 2 days, and it hurt so bad, but I wasn't going to tell anybody. And finally, I was literally walking up the steps at school, and my teacher, again, another teacher goes like, "What's going on?" I'm going, "Nothing." They go like, "No, what's going on?" And I like pulled up my pant leg, and as she, I think, probably vomits, she goes, "You need to go home." During high school, I remember I used to go and be in basketball. And man, when it got physical, I remember a couple games it got physical, and people would be just not punching, but throwing elbows, which are just as bad. And I remember a couple games getting hit around the eye, if you've ever got hit in the eye and it breaks open, starts bleeding. I remember that it would hurt and I would be hurting and I would be trying to cover up the blood so that I wouldn't get pulled out because I didn't want to show I was weak. That's this pattern that got my life of just going, I'm not going to show pain. I'm not going to show that pain affects me. It didn't just affect my physical life because then it got into my emotional life. Because I was just, when emotional pain hit, I was just going to do the same thing. I wasn't going to show anybody I was weak. I wasn't going to show anybody that it affected me. When people started calling me names, I just blew it off. Doesn't affect me. When I didn't get invited to the party that everybody else was going to, I didn't want to go to the party anyway. You know, when you get those great comments like, hey, it's not you, it's me, let's just be friends. Yeah, I didn't really like you anyway. I became this emotional bubble where how I experienced pain was just to push everything away. You're not going to affect me. I'm never going to let people see that pain affects me. And I think as a culture, many of us experience this because I thought that was the way life was supposed to be. I thought if you were a true person, if you were a person of character, this is what you tried to get to, where you didn't show pain. You didn't let anybody else know if they hurt you. You definitely didn't talk to anybody about it. The better you could just suck it up and get through, the better you were. That's how I lived my life. That's how I thought you were supposed to live your life. So tonight, I invite you to ask yourself, how do you deal with pain? How do you deal with disappointments? How do you deal when some either physical or emotional? When something happens that hurts? Because the whole thing of shake it off pain could be, you could already be thinking, that just means I need to shake it off. When pain happens, I just need to get rid of it. I just need to ignore it, and if I ignore it, it's going to go away. But here's the truth. What is pain good for? Why do we have pain? Think about physically. Why do we have pain? It helps us understand that something's wrong. If somebody punches you, you might be offended that they actually hit you, but you're going to hurt, and that's going to mean that there's something wrong. When you get a shot, you feel pain. It's because a needle was never supposed to stick in your butt or your arm. It also affects how you do emotions. When you feel emotional pain, when somebody lets you down, when you get disappointed, when somebody hurts you, it signifies that something's wrong. It's not the way it's supposed to be. Instead of ignoring pain, I think we want to embrace pain a little bit, not because we want more pain in our lives, but because we don't want to ignore it and push it off. Because I think if we ignore and push off pain, we're going to never become who we really are. As I was asking Jesus really what he wanted to bring to you guys tonight, he let me see into some of your lives. Some of you feel really alone, really hurt. You've already spent years of pushing pain to the side. You've already isolated yourself to a point where pain is something that just isn't something that you're even interested in, even thinking about. Well, tonight I want to look at some myths about pain, because these are the myths that we've believed about pain. I think if you're like me, these are some of the ones I believe, so maybe there's some of you believe, that I think I want us to look at, and then I want us to look at how do we really shake off pain? Not get rid of pain in our lives, but how do we use pain as that's a sign that something's wrong, so we want to go and get that healed and go get that fixed rather than ignoring it and pushing it off, and if I just ignore it long enough, it'll go away. Well, here's some myths. The first myth is, I don't know if you've ever had this, that the myth that you should just toughen up. Maybe this is more with boys than girls, I don't know, but I had this all the time. Toughen up. I remember, especially as a middle school guy, and I'm not saying you middle school guys are like this. This is how I was. When I was in middle school, there was this awkward moment where I had lots of different emotions going all over the place, and there's something that somebody said to me in the middle of a group of friends that instantly demanded a response. All of a sudden, I started tearing up. And it was man, I cannot let them see me cry. I refuse. I remember that day was the day I refused to cry. I will not cry. And this whole idea of toughening up. I don't know if that's crying. I don't know if that's how you deal with people or how when people poke you and when people make fun of you, maybe it's just toughen up. Just don't let it bug you. But here's the truth. Acts 28:27 says this. For the hearts of these people are hardened, and their ears cannot hear, and they have closed their eyes, so their eyes cannot see, and their ears cannot hear, and their hearts cannot understand, and they cannot turn to me and let me heal them. If you believe the myth that you need to toughen up, you're actually putting yourself in a position where you can't be healed. So it's a myth, the idea of toughening up. Myth number 2, don't let anyone see your pain or weakness. Don't let anyone see where you're weak. And I know that's a good strategy if you're on an athletic team. Don't let them see your weakness. You're trying to do that. But as a person, you don't want to live that way. Because here's the truth. In 2 Corinthians 12:9, it says this. Each time, Jesus said, my grace is all you need. My power works best in weakness. So now, Paul, you are glad to boast about your weaknesses so that the power of Christ can work through you. Like the idea, like if you're a Christian, this makes sense. This is the truth about your story admitting your weakness, because that's where Jesus could do his biggest strength. If you live under the myth that you can't let anybody show your weaknesses, anybody see them, you will end up in a really protected place, never allowing really the power that's meant to be experienced through you be experienced. Myth number 3, and this is what I remember from the earliest I can remember memories, this phrase being said over me. Why don't you grow up? Quit being a crybaby. Life is tough, deal with it. I remember hearing these phrases over and over and over. Grow up. Come on. Be better. Quit being a wimp. Luke 18:17 says this. I tell you the truth, anyone who doesn't receive the kingdom of God like a child will never enter it. You were never meant to grow up. Physically, hopefully some of you grow up. Maybe even mentally and socially skills. But you were never meant to, how you feel and how you interact with people, grow up. You were never meant to do that. The myth is grow up, whatever that means. And the truth is, if you grow up in that way, you'll never really get to experience freedom. In the Bible, it says you'll never actually get to experience what heaven really feels like, because you have to be like a child. You have to be able to trust people. You have to let the pain be taken care of. You don't ignore the pain. Well, tonight I want to talk about a story that Jesus lived through, and I want to give us 3 handles, kind of keys on how do we shake off pain? How do we shake it off so that we don't ignore it, but actually enter into it and we embrace it? This story is found in the Bible in Matthew 8. It's about little background. For those of you who know a little bit about the Bible, this will be maybe review, but for those of you who don't, maybe this will be awesome stuff that will make sense. In this time when this was written, Rome owned this area. I mean, they ruled this area, and they sent out different soldiers to kind of take over, like oversee different areas. Well, this area that we're talking about is Capernaum, called Capernaum, and there was 1,500 people that lived in this village. And it says that there was a Roman officer, a centurion, and if you're mathematical, what do you think centurion means? How many people did they oversee? 100. So this Roman officer oversaw 100 people in a town of 1,500. So that means they had a lot of military presence per person. So Romans were typically not Jews and typically not Christians and typically weren't big fans. So this is where this story takes place. When Jesus returned to Capernaum, a Roman officer came and pleaded with him, "Lord, my young servant lies in bed, paralyzed and in terrible pain." Jesus said, "I'll come and heal him." But the officer said, "Lord, I'm not worthy to have you come into my home. Just say the word from where you are, and my servant will be healed. I know this because I am under authority of my superior officers, and I have authority over my soldiers. I only need to say go, and they go, or come, and they come. And if I say to my slaves, do this, they do it." Then Jesus heard this, and he was amazed. Turning to those who were following him, he said this, Jesus said this, I tell you the truth, I haven't seen faith like this in all of Israel. Then Jesus said to the officer, go back home, because you believed it has happened. And the servant was healed that same hour. So there was a pain that was happening. The Roman officer, who wasn't a big fan of Jews probably, came to Jesus and he said, I'm in pain because my friend is in pain. Maybe some of you can relate to that. Like you have a friend who's in pain, and you're going like, I need to get my friend help. I don't know where to go. I've tried these things. I've tried to help them. I tried to talk to them. I've tried to get them to talk to people, but I don't know anymore. I cannot do this. I need help. So tonight, I want us to look through this and see what we can learn about what it means to shake off pain. The first thing is identify the places of pain in your life and express it. Identify the places of pain in your life and express it. It's really important to do that because a lot of times we will ignore it. If you're like me, I ignored pain most of my life. And it didn't get me anywhere. In fact, I believe if we don't embrace pain, if we don't actually lean into pain a little bit, I think it could be actually dangerous. And I want to show you an example. This is a video of a young girl, and she has a certain medical condition that I think relates to what we're talking about tonight. So watch this.
3 years old when she took that spill in her garage. Gabby Genderen never felt it. Gabby was born with a rare condition that left her with no sensitivity to pain.
Ah, honey, you can't do that. You'll hurt your head.
She was also blessed with oodles of attitude.
I'll have to take your milk because we're not supposed to have the chocolate milk in the living room, right?
No.
7 years later,
Oh, yeah.
neither has changed.
Too late now, Mom.
Gabby is 10 years old now
So go ahead, everybody.
and
This
a
is your
fifth
time
grader
to
at
work
Big
on it.
Lakes Liberty Elementary.
Gabby, how's it going?
Good.
Okay. It looks very colorful.
The
You're
eye-protecting
going
swim
every other
goggles
letter, aren't
are
you?
gone, except when she
Is this-
sleeps. But that viewing machine is her daily companion because Gabby is legally blind.
Look at me.
Gabby's left eye was removed and replaced with a non-functioning prosthesis not long after this 2004 eye clinic
Yeah,
visit.
give me 5 for doing so good.
As a toddler, doctors had sewn shut both Gabby's eyes for her own protection. Too young to know better, and with no pain to tell her to stop, Gabby had nearly blinded herself, scratching her eyes with her own fingers.
Helps me see the smart board.
Gabby's insensitivity to pain has also cost her most of her teeth.
There's 4 more in here.
Those she didn't break off biting toys were removed after she began mutilating her tongue and mouth, unaware of another child like Gabby in the country.
Oh, watch your head, sweet pea.
Is it any wonder that 7 years ago,
I'm going to put it on the same plate as pancakes. Is that okay?
Gabby's parents felt so desperate and alone?
There are no support groups. There are no emails or no websites. There are no parents who can tell us what we might expect. Nothing.
She had a broken jaw and you didn't even know it.
Turns out alone
Her body actually feels no pain at all.
was
Why
a
do doctors
temporary
think that's
state.
Your daughter does not feel pain.
Hi, Katie. Hi, Gabby. How are you?
See, this girl cannot feel pain. And because she cannot feel pain, as a toddler, she literally scratched her eyes out. She's not mentally, she's mentally strong. She's getting straight A's. Now she's a 6th grader and she's getting straight A's in school. And because she cannot feel pain, she does not know where danger exists. I want to invite you to have the courage to identify pain in your life. And this is tough. I know it's tough. But it's a tough topic, and it's real life. And I don't want to tell you just to suck it up and try to get through. What I want to do is tell you the truth. Too many of us live lives like that. We have numbed ourselves out so much, or are on the process or on the journey of numbing ourselves out so much that we refuse to experience pain. We refuse. We don't even know anymore what is wrong, what is bad for us to be involved with. Sometimes, let me give you an example. I've seen this a couple times. Actually, I've seen it way too much. We've been emotionally hurt by parents, by people, by friends, by boyfriends, by girlfriends. And all of a sudden, we go in and out of relationships over and over and over again. And we don't realize the damage that's happening to us. Like that our value and self-worth are just going away because we've numbed ourselves out and said, pain, I will not let this pain affect me. I just will ignore it. I've seen it in how we deal with parents. Like we continue to have this, like I'm not going to worry anymore. I'm not going to let their rejection of me affect me. So I'm just going to ignore that pain. And the relationship just gets worse and worse and worse. And we were meant to have those relationships. I want to invite you to take a risky step. Make a list. Go home, make a list. And this isn't a real awesome thing to do, but make a list of the pains in your life because you can't afford to ignore them. You can't afford to ignore them. You were made to not live under the weight of pain. You were not made to ignore pain. So make a list of the pains in your life. The physical ones, the emotional ones, the relational ones. Go for it. Identify them. See what Jesus will show you in this. So number 1, identify the places in your life and express it. Number 2, admit you can't heal yourself. This is tough for some of us, especially guys maybe. Admit we can't heal ourselves. Admit that nothing that we can do is going to fix those pains. Like this Roman officer who had authority over actually Jesus understood this. He said, I can't heal this. This is my good friend that is dying, and I can't stand walking into the room anymore and see him in pain, and all he does is just writhe in pain. I can't fix him. I can't do anything about this. I can't do this. You don't have to get to the end of your rope. You don't have to get to desperation before you go for help. If you just admit that you can't fix it, that you can't heal that pain, it will help you get further faster. It will help you to get to hope. So how do you heal yourself? How do you heal the pain? What is it for you? Maybe some good, well-meaning person has told you, hey, take these pills and that will heal your pain. Now, I'm not saying you shouldn't take medicine when it's the right time, but some people have just said, take these. Oh, by the way, just go talk to this counselor. And again, all good stuff. I would encourage you to go talk to counselors. But there's a missing link if you put all of your weight in that, basically saying, I'm going to figure this out by myself, or I'm going to figure this out with the way I know how to do this, and I'm going to take this all by myself. And if you leave Jesus out of it, you're going to miss some of the healing. I think the complete healing that's meant for you. And number 3, run to Jesus. Run to Jesus. See, the soldier, the officer, he came to Jesus. He pursued Jesus. If you read it in a different book of the Bible, it says that he persistently came to the disciples going, my friend is hurting. I can't fix him. I need help. And I believe that Jesus could do this. I believe that he could heal people. I've heard he could heal people. Will you please let me talk to Jesus? Because I would love to talk to him. So plead on behalf of my friend so that he could be healed. I want to invite you to, after you make the list, step 2 is to put next to it, who are you or how are you trying to heal that pain? And this really is not a fun thing. I did this today, not a fun thing. When you go like, oh, that problem I have with my parents, and I mean that seriously, I have a problem with my parents, a parent relationship that's not great. And I'm going like, how do I deal with it? Ignore their calls, try to make it through the 3 days that I'm there over Thanksgiving. I mean, I'm going it's just wrong. But make a list. Then go through, how are you dealing with it? And then when you get to this next part, will you invite Jesus into it? See, for many of us, these pains, inviting Jesus into it, you don't even know what that means. Here's a good step here's one way you can invite Jesus into it. Just pray this prayer. I forgive blank, whoever that person is, for doing blank, for whatever they did, because it made me feel blank, for however it made you feel. Your feelings, nobody could tell you your feelings are wrong. Some of you feel pain because you've shared your feelings. They said, you shouldn't feel that way. Why do you feel that way? You're overreacting. You're a teenager. You're emotional. No one has the right to tell you that. That just caused more pain on top of pain. I'm telling you, this is one simple prayer. It doesn't fix everything, but it's one simple prayer. I forgive blank for doing blank because it made me feel this way. And just tell Jesus that. That's how you can invite Jesus into the healing. Most of us, when we have pain, we want it to just go back to the way it was. At least it is for me. Like when I feel pain, when I twisted my ankle, I just wanted to be able to walk again. When we feel pain, when I have a broken relationship in my life, I just want it to go back to normal. And here's the cool part. If you'll let Jesus help you in the healing process, I want to show you something that maybe you missed. So when Jesus returned to Capernaum, a Roman officer came and pleaded with him, Lord, my young servant lies in bed, paralyzed and in terrible pain. Jesus said, I'll come and heal him. The officer said, no, I'm not worthy to have you come into my house. Just say the word and he'll be healed. I know this because I'm under authority of superior officers, and I have authority over other people, of my soldiers. All I have to do is say, go, and they go. Then Jesus heard this. He said, he was amazed. He turned to the people who were following him, and he said, I tell you the truth, I haven't seen faith like this in all of Israel. Basically, in all of the Jewish people that Jesus was reaching out to. He said, I have never seen this. Here's what was true about this Roman officer. He came for healing for a friend, and he came away with a new identity. Do you understand? He came hoping to have his friend healed, and he came away with the label of, I have never seen anyone with faith like this. He became known with an identity that he had faith like no one else that Jesus had ever seen. Some of us need to get to healing so Jesus could show us the bigger thing he has for us next. Disappointments, pain will come. It's going to come. I will guarantee it in your life. What you've experienced so far will keep happening. You can't eliminate pain from your life. No matter who tells you, not even if you end up in a bubble, you cannot eliminate pain. But here's what I can tell you. Jesus wants to give you the bigger thing. He wants to give you a new identity. For those of you who are figuring out Christianity, that's what it means to become a Christian, where you come and say, I can't do this anymore. The pain of all my mistakes, all my problems, everything that I've done wrong, I can't do this anymore. I admit I can't fix it, and I'm running to you, Jesus, because I know you can heal this. And that's what it means to become a Christian. When you go to Jesus, Jesus, forgive me for everything I've done. I know you're the only one who could forgive me. And I ask you in my heart, and I ask you to lead me. And then you go for healing for your heart so that you can feel whole, so that you can feel like you belong, that you can feel forgiven. And what he does, he turns around and goes, oh, I've done that, forgive you. And now I'm going to give you a new identity. You're my boy, you're my girl. We're going to do life together. We're going to do eternity together. This is going to be awesome. Some of you who are Christians already need to get to some healing so he can actually hand that baton back off to you, to the thing he's called you to. For those of you who've been around here, we started this year, January 1st, we started this year with this thing called Last Words. Like, what were the last words of 2014 that Jesus was giving you? And a lot of you that were around heard lots of great things. And guess what? Some of them you've walked into, and some of them you haven't yet, and I'm not giving up. Because I believe this is what Jesus is, in this season right now, when he says the pain and the hurt and the disappointments are coming, have come this year. If you will come to me, I will heal you, and then I'm going to give you that thing that you heard from me. He's waiting to give you bigger callings, to bigger purposes. You have to let go of some of the pain. You have to be willing to admit that you can't do it yourself. And you could walk into the truth and reality. Student impact. I believe this more than ever today. This is a room full of people that if we choose together not to be distracted by pain, not to wall off pain, not to become numb, but to let Jesus into it, I believe now more than ever, he is ready to hand new identities out. New identities. Identities that you haven't even dreamed that you could be called. That he could hand the baton and say, hey, I'm going to call you into this. This is who you really are. You're trustworthy. You're faithful. You're going to lead your school. You're going to lead your team. You're going to lead your family. I called you to this career. He's ready to do something that's going to explode your mind, and it's sitting on the other side of you taking your pain and letting him in. Just simply going, okay, I forgive these people. I forgive this person. I let them off the hook because they made me feel like this. And guess what? I'm going to let them off the hook, and I'm going to get this pain healed so that I can move forward. Jesus is waiting. Students, get ready. For those of you who want to walk through this, you will find an unbelievable gift on the other end. For those of you who want help, we're ready to help you. We want to help you be unlocked and freed up. Because that image of that girl kind of haunts me the last couple days after I watched that, where I don't see myself physically, but I see myself at times in my life where I was that emotionally resistant to pain, and I was hurting myself. And I want to invite you to step into freedom. I believe you could do it. So go for it in small groups and community, maybe talking to a leader. We're going to step forward and we're going to invite Jesus into this. Will you pray with me? Jesus, we thank you so much that you didn't make pain as a punishment. You made pain as a symbol that something was wrong. It's like a signal to us. Jesus, I just ask you to forgive us for the places where we've avoided pain and avoided the idea of looking into pain because we thought it was something that was wrong, or something that even maybe something that you wouldn't want us to do. So Jesus, I ask you to forgive us, and Jesus, we receive your forgiveness in that. And Jesus, we ask that you will open us up so that we could really believe that pain is your gift to us to help us know that something's wrong, so that we could pursue getting healing, so that we could be clean. And Jesus, I pray that there will be new identities in this room. Like there's a new thing that you want to offer this group. There's a new thing you want to offer these leaders, these students, and each of us individually. So Jesus, we invite you into this. Jesus, we're going to shake off pain. Pain will not control us anymore. Pain will not have the voice that says, you don't matter. Suck it up. Toughen up. Quit being a baby. Jesus, those voices have no authority over us, and we invite you into this because your voice of truth and love and hope and power are the voices we want to listen to. And Jesus, those are the voices we believe. So we pray all this in Jesus' name. Amen.